It's amazing. It's amazing. The Michael Decon program. Is the embassy.
And welcome back. Here we are again, live and direct, for your listening pleasure. Tonight, we will be joined by Michael Bell. He's the author of the book Invisible Crime and American Cyborg. This is the third book in Michael Bell's series of above top secret government programs. Michael is under 24/7 hour sort of a military surveillance and monitoring. That's pretty crazy if you think about it. This stuff is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen, and I do want to welcome all of you newer listeners out there to the program. Yes, come on in. Don't be afraid. It's a little creepy at first, but you'll get used to it, I promise. And of course, I'm not alone. I am joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Mike Hideous, who I believe is also patiently waiting. What's going on, Mike? How are you?
Hey.
What's up, brother? How are you?
Which mic are we talking to?
Talking to you.
Oh, okay. All right. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. And yes, Mike, I'm sorry to cause any confusion. We're doing the whole triple threat yet again, Michael, Mike, Michael, and yes, so many Michaels here tonight.
You can just call me Superior Mike Hideous.
I want to call you Michael too. It's funny that way.
It is. It's like when we used to do Michael Aquino. It's all
Yeah,
three of us.
that's hilarious. It really is. And of course, yes, so much to get into here tonight. And of course, our guest is currently waiting right now. We should bring him right on in. Michael, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. Nice to be back.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. You know, it's been a long, long time since you've been here, and I'm glad you're alive and well.
Yes, well, it's nice to be invited back. I guess for the new listeners, perhaps I should give a brief introduction.
Absolutely.
Of what happened to me?
Yes,
if
yes.
that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
What happened to me is I was an aspiring screenwriter living in Hollywood, California, and one night in 2008, I was drugged and abducted from my apartment, and I remember the perpetrators wearing frightening masks, and at one point lying on a stainless steel surgical table somewhere with surgeons with masks standing over me. And then I woke up in my apartment thinking that it was the next morning, but to my horror, I discovered that it was actually 8 days later. And I noticed all over my body, I had riddled with these dozens of tiny corresponding and symmetrical covert cosmetic surgery incision scars, which I couldn't figure. I didn't understand what they were from. I knew I'd been operated on, but I didn't understand what they were. And I consulted with several private investigators and a former CIA agent that informed me that it sounded like I'd become what is known as a targeted individual, and then I'd possibly had been implanted with advanced nanotechnology biomedical devices. So I traveled around the world collecting medical evidence in the forms of MRIs, ultrasound, X-rays, all with verified, validated, real doctors' reports clearly showing foreign objects directly beneath the covert surgical incision scars that I had. And the private investigators and the former CIA agent all told me that I was likely part of a massive field test, an illegal clinical trial of human experimentation using classified technologies. And the program that I believe that I'm in is the most advanced weapon system ever created by mankind, a weapon in every sense of the word. The program is widely recognized as an unacknowledged special access program, believed to be part of the military-industrial complex, which is composed of the military, Black Ops, the military, the Department of Defense, NSA, the Department of Justice, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, and its many other subsidiary agencies. This is a human experimentation program that causes extreme psychological terror as well as physical torture. This kind of illegal human experimentation is considered a war crime and is the highest ranking type of capital crime punishable by the death penalty. It's been estimated that as much as a third or as many as a half, it's been estimated that Americans have already been implanted with non-therapeutic, non-consensual RFID biomedical implant technology without their knowledge, permission, or consent. Technology is way ahead of the law. The law has a lot of catching up to do.
Oh, yes. You jumped right on in there, Mr. Bell, and I do appreciate that. And I just wanted to quickly say, lots to go over here tonight with you. And this is really going to scare the hell out of a lot of people out there. And of course, that's not my intention for tonight's program, but this is the reality we live in. And my God, this has been going on for a very, very long time. This nefarious game that the ABC boys like to play and force you to play. Of course, I'm referring to government entities out there. And, you know, there's been people like Richard Doty, who was paid by the feds to drive an innocent man, that man being Paul Benowitz, crazy, and make him believe that he was in fact insane. So there are many, many examples, but Um, we'll be talking about you primarily, of course, here tonight. So once again, Mr. Bell, welcome back to the program. It's great to hear from you. And, I've been receiving so many emails every few months about our very last interview we did together, and that was a long time ago. But these were emails from individuals who are currently being stalked and harassed. And they've been targeted individuals like yourself, Mr. Bell.
Right. I have. For the listeners that aren't familiar with me, for the listenership, I just wanted to let them know that I do have two websites, invisiblecrime.com and michaelfbell.com, and there's a spot on both of those websites for the listener, the reader, to send me a comment, which I'm pretty good at replying to most of the legitimate comments that I get. So that's just an extra, because I do get a lot of questions from a lot of people that are victims of this crime, that don't know where to turn to and don't know how to explain it to people. So I get a lot of those kind of emails, but I just wanted to mention those just in case any of the readers out there who are listening tonight wanted to reach out to me. I'm pretty good about being able to return. You have to give me some time. If I get besieged with tons of messages, it takes me a little bit of time to go through them all, but I just thought I'd mention that so that
no problem.
I am available, because a lot of people don't really know what to.
Yeah, where to go, who to talk to, and that's what I mean right there. Some folks want to get in touch with you, while others are just wondering what they can do in general. So it was time. Right. So I thought it was time to bring you back on the show and talk about a plethora of topics here, and of course we'll get into your new book in a moment. And of course you just told us a little bit about your background here. But when exactly did you notice things to sort of unfold and notice that something wasn't really adding up here, Mr. Bell?
Well, I have to be honest, when I look back, they say you can see everything 2020 with clarity. When you look back over the past, you may not see it at the time, but you can see it in the past. And what I realized that in 2008 is when I was abducted, and that was a traumatic event for me. But it was really since right after 9/11 that I became aware of something different that was going on around me that I couldn't really put my finger on. It was a noise campaign initially in my neighborhood. I couldn't really figure this thing out. It's not something normal, and when you complain about it, it makes you look bad. So you kind of have to learn to live with some of those things. But I'm sorry, you were leading. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just wanted you to sort of address these sort of first initial things that had happened with you, but yes.
And also, I wanted to mention especially with each of my books, it's been a learning process for me as a writer, going from the very beginning, what happened to me, to my third book, my newest book, where I am able to explain a lot of the technologies and the motivation for the technologies, what's trying to be accomplished here. One of the things was it's referred to as neurological weapons and U.S. experiments. And if this makes sense to you, I can just say it succinctly for the listeners that don't understand what mind control might be. The United States no longer monopolizes nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction, and clearly has a numerical disadvantage with its 350 million citizens versus China with over 1 billion, and India over 1 billion, and Russia with its satellites and total population. So one of the alternatives to weapons of mass destruction is neurological warfare. Even weapons of mass destruction at some point must be triggered by a human being. But what if that human being was unwilling or unable to do so due to mind control, rendering enemies unable of attacking, toppling their governments, and strewing chaos and discord are all aims of neurological warfare. So you can see, and also, just as vaccines and medicines require years of testing and proving before they're marketed, psychological weaponry must undergo extensive testing and proving. It involves every aspect of science, neuroscience, physics, mathematics, psychology, and medicine, and all war tactics, techniques, and methods, basically the sum of all human knowledge.
Right. Going back to the 1950s, the government was working on the infamous MK Ultra program, trying to figure out ways to alter someone's thoughts and perception. The use of electromagnetic energy to scramble your brain waves went on back then, and it still continues to this very day. And, Mr. Bell, I'm wondering, these people that abducted you, were they the CIA, were they the NSA, the FBI, or the DIA? Who was it?
I believe it's what I referred to in my new book, The American Cyborg, subtitle, The Globalist Cabal, Project Monarch, and the Military-Industrial Complex. It's the people behind all of the corruption in the world right now. That the most powerful people in the world are referred to technically as the globalist cabal, and they involve the richest, wealthiest 1% of people on the planet, and have so much power that they are able to control everything from the stock market, manipulate the stock market, and even change the weather. This is the power that this globalist cabal has over, and it operates above the military, outside of the law. So you're talking about technologies that are being used on people that technically don't even exist yet. They haven't been mentioned anywhere. They're classified. They're top secret. They're above top secret. So, and also the other aspect of this crime is the secrecy and the deception that is used to allow the crime to continue. And when you asked earlier when it started for me, I realized in 2001, but it may have been throughout my life.
Throughout your lifetime, you've had these strange experiences happening to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, it's not. When I look back on it, when I was younger, I could see that there was something imposing views upon me that were not my own, something that was unnatural to me. I noticed that from a very early age, but I don't believe the technology was there back in the early 1960s when I was born. That would be in 1964 when I was 3 years old. The technology isn't where it is today back then. It was way ahead of its time back then, but not where it is today. So it continues to be refined and continue to become more powerful and more perfect, especially when you have supercomputers using algorithms that are created by supercomputers. It really becomes extremely complex, and it's difficult for people to comprehend.
Sure, yes.
Just how advanced the technology is.
And Mike, I was going to say, Mike, I think you wanted to ask a question here a minute ago. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I have two questions. You mentioned that there were these devices implanted under your skin that were noticed by either X-rays or doctors when they examined you. Did they remove them?
I had one removed in my first book. I describe in great detail how I had to travel to Madrid, Spain, to get ultrasounds showing foreign objects that I could feel in this case, it was in my jaw. I had one object removed from my jaw, and the doctor would not allow me to keep it.
That was my next question.
It was taken away from me. I was able to photograph it, and the photographs are in my first book. And I believe on my websites there may be a picture of the implant that I had removed from my jaw. But I'm sorry, and you had another question? I'm sorry, Mike.
Right. So a follow-up to first of all, what year was this again? This was what, in the last 10 years, you said, or 20 years?
I believe when that happened, that year, that was, I think, 2010, maybe, that I had that removed.
Okay, so that
2009, 2010.
So that being said, my follow-up question is this: why do you think someone would do this to you?
Well, I believe it's experimental in nature. I believe that this program is it stems out of MK Ultra. That's where it started and is continuing to be refined. Why did they choose me? I don't have an exact answer, but I do know that whatever is being done to me, the data is being harvested. The data is being, it's a two-way communication between my body, my thoughts, and the technology. Whether that's an implant, medical device inside me, it has to communicate with something. So most likely there are some kind of connection between me and where it's ultimately sent to a satellite or to the cellular system. But the information travels at light speed. So something that happens to me, whether it's my body temperature, my heart rate, my blood pressure, those things with this technology, those things can be manipulated from far away. So to be able to control a person's thoughts, their emotions, it's ultimately it's something that's being experimented on me individually, but the plan is for all of humanity eventually. That's what it seems to me. There's no way that they would create technology this advanced and use it on one person. It's meant for the masses. It's just being experimented and perfected on by individual people like myself, I believe.
By the way, someone in the chat room mentioned Roger Lear, and of course those that are well versed in ufology and all this for many, many years, especially back in the 90s. He was removing, these alien implants from people for years, people that had these foreign objects in their bodies. I'm not sure what you think of any of that.
I remember that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
He passed away. I contacted him at one point when he was alive. I believe he passed away.
Yes, he's gone.
But I did contact him and send him pictures of my early I turned to him at one point.
Oh, wow.
Because I was hoping that I would get one of those kind of removals that he was famous for. So I did reach out to him at one point.
Oh, my. Yeah, he passed away back in 2014.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. But, yeah, it's a sad story. But, Michael, I wouldn't have believed you a number of years ago. However, I know a few people personally that this sort of thing has happened to. And of course, I've had a lot of people email me about their experiences about this subject. And I'm surprised at the amount of people that have experienced this themselves. You know, it's hard for me to sort of just dismiss everything so easily in this topic when all this has been going on for a number of years now.
Right. Also, I wanted to say one other thing too, just for the people that don't understand. This is real technology. You look in the news. In 2016, the U.S. diplomats in Cuba claimed that they were attacked and tortured by ultrasonic acoustic weapons, causing severe headaches, pain, and permanent damage, hearing damage. And the FBI and the medical services, the doctors were quick to respond and seemed quite familiar with the effects of those dangerous covert weapons.
Yeah,
Yet,
that's sickness they were
targeted
experiencing.
individuals
Yeah.
who are claiming to be attacked by the similar weapons are declared mentally ill to cover up the truth. So also I wanted to mention during my radio interviews, I believe my perpetrators are using a similar frequency weapon on me, trying to diminish my ability to communicate effectively to the listeners, jamming and dulling my focus, disorienting me, and as I'm trying to form and convey thoughts, even sometimes mid-sentence, which compromises my credibility. So in addition to trying to explain something that's very difficult to explain, I have that challenge going on too, having my focus being disrupted to some extent as I try to expose the crimes.
Right.
You can imagine that the people behind them are desperate to keep keep everything hidden. So
Yes, what you were reporting was something that happened back in 2020, and I should say it goes back further than that. But in that specific, I believe that embassy in Havana, that was back in 2016 and 17, and then of course finally reported back in 2020. But yeah, staff and some of their relatives complained of symptoms ranging from dizziness, loss of balance, hearing loss, anxiety, and something they described as cognitive fog. So that was known as Havana syndrome, they were calling it. But yes, these were sonic attacks. So, you know, this isn't just something someone made up, and it's not like a sci-fi thing, even though it kind of sounds that way. But these are things that are actually being used, and people don't even know it.
They do try to dismiss it by using the word syndrome. You see, it's a directed energy attack on a person. It's an acoustical or microwave or electromagnetic wave pulse attack on a person. It's not a syndrome, which it doesn't cover anything. It's not even a medical term, really. Syndrome. It comes down to syndrome and mental illness and conspiracy theory. You get those three things going, and then people don't want to believe it, or they're using those words to diminish the credibility of the person who's really telling the truth in many cases.
Yes, and of course, you know, I'm pretty sure you've talked about this in the past, that you've experienced directed energy attacks or electronic weapons. And, you know, we know these things exist, as we just mentioned, because, you know, even law enforcement officers and the military use these sort of devices. But, you know, I did have another question in relation to directed energy weapons. I'm sure you've also heard that that theory, you know, the theory that directed energy weapons were used to take down the Twin Towers. What are your thoughts and opinions on that theory, by the way, Mr. Bell?
Well, I mean, that's a whole separate, even though
it's a whole
it may
other
be
game
connected,
there.
it's a whole separate thing. I would have to say that is certainly a possibility. Certainly, it's by no means impossible what you said. It's not impossible what you said.
Yeah, I don't know if I subscribe to that theory personally, but it's a very interesting theory, though. No doubt about it.
Certainly something different in real life. In truth, something in truth happened that was different than what the public was given information of. That's for sure. I don't know how different it was, but certainly I believe there is something being withheld, if not a lot.
You know, people often say, oh, this is nonsense. No way my government could ever do this or that. But, you know, there's always a paper trail and documents and all this technology that exists today, you know, are a product of all these experiences from the past. And none of this is hidden, you know, this is all a matter of public knowledge these days. It's all on record.
Right. Yeah. With patents, and I mean, people, and a patent may not prove that a technology exists, but it does prove that it's possible for it to exist. And there's no way that somebody would go to the length of creating a patent and then not following through on the technology that the patent offers to create. You see? So it's, of course, anything that's that sophisticated is going to be
well,
it's going to be looked at differently.
Another great example to use, Mr. Bell, is what we've been experiencing the past few years now with Cooties 19. You know, if you told somebody would have a digital passport for X, Y, and Z, they would think that you are smoking crack with Hunter Biden.
Right.
So, you know, these things do happen. And, you know, you can deny it all you want, but again, these things are happening right in front of you.
Well, one of the things I wanted to mention, I hope that I can throw this in.
Yes, sir.
There's one of the things that I talk about in my new book, American Cyborg, is the observations that I've made in my, you mentioned that in my book that I'm under 24-hour military surveillance monitoring.
Yes, sir.
And that's true. I just wanted to let you know that I noticed the helicopters for many years, but it was only in the last 5 years that I really started using binoculars and photographing there's 3 different things that I'm being that are in the night sky every night where I live in a very remote area of I'll say deep in the Carolinas.
There you go.
But it's in the mountains. It's in the mountains of the Carolinas, and so these helicopters that are surveillancing, monitoring. What's happened is that how you can imagine the cost of just a single helicopter to go take a ride somewhere.
It's a lot of money.
You can imagine what it would cost. The thing is that what it is that it's believed that targeted individuals like myself at a high-end target, where they're spending a lot of money and investing a lot of money, things like helicopters can become very handy in terms of being able to hover above the targeted individual, the victim, whatever you want to call the person who's being affected, the victim's house and their property throughout the night, monitoring them, and then be gone in the day. But they're out there all night, every night, and just to give people an idea of what it costs. See, what happens is a target individual is believed to be placed on the counterterrorism watch list, which once you get on that list, you'll never get off that list. And it's part of the terror watch list, which is different than the no-fly list. Those are all 3 different things. But the counterterrorism task force, if you get on that list, they have the ability and the obligation, they say, to the American people to monitor these people 24/7, around the clock, all year, every year, all day, every day, because they propose some kind of threat to the world. They need to be. That's what justifies all of the helicopters that I have, sometimes several dozen helicopters and drones, and you mix in the satellites that are involved in the acquisition of the frequencies of the targeted individual. It's all about what are they doing? They're the programming, the harvesting of the data, when a person's dreaming, to be able to harvest, record, and store and analyze those dreams, or whatever it is that they're, whatever particular aspect that they're experimenting on me, because you have to understand that we're looking at total control. The formula that I have in the book, in the American Cyborg, the formula is money plus power equals control. And so you have to understand how much money that they're willing to invest, trillions of dollars in this case, being spent. I did the research for the type of helicopters that are covertly surveillancing me, but it's not very covert. If you come to my house and look up in the sky, you can see them, and you can see that they're not planets and that they don't belong there. But a stealth helicopter, covert surveillance helicopter stationed over my house and property, each night is a mission for that craft. That's a military mission every night for each one of those. And just for one Sikorsky UH-60 Black Ops stealth helicopter, the cost is $60 million for just one. And then you have to have a full crew, including backup pilots, technicians, monitoring the target individual from up in the air at their desks, at their
So why would they
office.
want you? Why would they want to observe you? With respect, I ask that.
Well, it's about controlling a person's emotions and how psychological, neurological weapons can change a person remotely, wirelessly, from great distances, invisibly. So what's happening to me, whatever experimentation is being done to me, that all that information is being stored and saved and compared against other targeted individuals in whatever the experiment could be. And some of the reasons why they believe you ask a very good question. Reasons why target individuals are believed to be exploited include medical testing to see if certain kinds of cancer can be caused or mutated simply through the power of suggestion. They want to see if that's one of the possibilities. Also, various unknown mind control experience, ritualistic torture and sadistic gratification, psychological and physical experimentation, human trafficking, perverse forms of entertainment and voyeurism. Also, to see if the sexual orientation of a person can be changed from heterosexual to homosexual, from homosexual to heterosexual, to determine which techniques and methods get the best results, and how long it takes a target individual to capitulate to a new test that's being done to them, that they're completely unaware of, and to have target individuals believe things that don't happen or don't exist. An example of this would be the U.S. intelligence community that convinced a young Muslim at Guantanamo Bay that he convinced him that he'd lost his hands and legs, even though he had not. He was psychologically mind controlled to the point where he thought that all of his limbs were cut off. Also, to determine if target individuals can be influenced to commit treason or assassinate powerful political figures and not remember it. And to see another possibility is to see if target individuals can be made to think about dishonest actions when they're actually a perfectly honest person. So those are some of the endless list of possibilities of why they would be doing experiments on any human being. It's a crime against humanity. It's the most serious offense that man can commit against man. And also, I wanted to mention one other thing too that I believe that I was a part of, which is it's in the subtitle of American Cyborg, the new book that I have. It references Project Monarch, which is alleged to be an offshoot of MK Ultra. Project Monarch focused on children and fracturing their minds to create multiple personalities and grooming children for mind control by forcing them to compartmentalize information within their minds and not be aware of it. But it could be triggered with a word or an image to have the test subject instantly recall the information that was introduced through hypnosis. And then also you have deep patterning or brainwashing, which can be achieved through remote hypnosis. Even music can be structured to contain hypnotic, unconscious, influence-affecting thoughts and behavior to be able to make the test subject act on subliminal commands all the time. The victim is completely unaware, done without permission, knowledge, or consent. And then
can I ask you a question? I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but
sure.
Is this strictly based on your knowledge? Is this strictly an American thing by doing surgery on people to implant things on their body?
This is a global crime. What's happening? It's most prevalent, believed to be most prevalent here in America, but it's global. It's global. It's all over the world. And I believe that there are more targeted individuals in this country than anywhere else in the world. But it's definitely global, though. Even when I go to another country, even when I travel, the helicopters that I see above my house, when I travel to another country, there'll be another set of helicopters, not obviously the same ones. It will be an international, whoever is in the local area. Just like when you fly somewhere, you go to a new area, there's people in that area that take care of different areas. So when I travel or leave my house, what happens in the sky above my house where I am now will be in the sky wherever I travel to. And if I move my house, if I move to a new house, it may not happen overnight, but very quickly, whatever pattern I have here now will repeat itself most likely at the next destination, sadly for me. But that's the truth.
Understood. And Mr. Bell, now, do you have any evidence of any form of harassment that you've experienced?
Well, I mean, I have evidence in what format? You mean
in any
like
format, like video, photograph, anything of that nature?
Yes. I document all the time. I document, and so I have collected thousands of pictures in the last, 10 or 12 years of things that are related to this crime that the average person wouldn't notice.
Right.
So I do document those things because film is one of the most powerful things that demonstrates something to people. So, and when I take pictures of the helicopters, they believe me now about that. When I take pictures of them and they see them up there, it's hard to dismiss it. Even people that I've had come to visit my house, I'd say, listen, when it gets dark soon, you're going to see some stuff in the sky, and they couldn't believe what they saw, just what I predicted. At least a dozen or more stationary helicopters, plus smaller drones, and different kinds of drones, like the kind of drone that they would use in an attack in Pakistan, that kind of drone, and then also the kind of drone that you would get on Amazon, to have a drone in your backyard to fly it around. Those kind of drones come over my house as well.
So that must
which
be
is illegal.
That must be annoying.
It's very
It sounds
very annoying, and it's also illegal, but it's almost like they're tempting fate, because if I try to do something to bring that aircraft down, then that's a federal offense. So even though they're breaking the law, they're kind of tempting me to stand up for myself. But I know that as soon as I did something, try to intervene with one of these lower altitude drones that are only 100 or 200 feet above the ground, if I did something to that drone,
they're going to find you.
Be sure. Within 10 or 15 minutes, I'd have I'd have a bunch of people at my house, helicopters. I'd have all kinds of people would descend upon my house, and my life would be forever changed again. So it's tempting to it's frustrating, and to know that someone's spending so much money collecting data on me, and it's not just me, and there's nothing special about me. I'm just a regular person. The more regular you are, that's the type of person that is most qualified to be a target individual. They don't really want, when I say they, the perpetrators, the criminals don't really want someone so much who's famous, because of their chance of exposing the crime. They have somebody who's famous has a lot more credibility to the public than someone who is just
not famous,
a regular person.
Yes,
correct.
Mike, go ahead.
Mr. Bell, have you spoken to other people who have experienced a similar, the similar thing that you've went through?
Yes, many people that I've spoken to, but only a handful that have the level of targeting that I'm at currently right now, with the helicopter targeting and the drones. But I do speak to people, but mostly obviously I get emails from people who just are suffering the same thing, but just want it to stop. And they don't understand. They have to understand the crime. They have to understand how it works in order for them to the more you understand anything, it makes it easier to accept, and it might be something that's not impossible to correct. Although the deck is stacked against me, it would not be impossible to expose this. In very, very many ways, the crime is very close to exposure. When it comes to the funding, that's how MK Ultra got found out and exposed, because of the funding. So it's not very hard to there will be a time when it is exposed. I just hope that it's sooner and not decades from now, because they'd like the perpetrators would like it to continue on into infinity. But the people that are victims of it want it to stop, and it's hard to believe that something so evil that costs so much money is going on so smoothly without people even noticing. That's why in the first book I called it The Invisible Crime, because it goes so unnoticed. And to answer your question again, Mike, I don't know why I specifically was targeted, but I know that the data that's being collected and harvested for me is being measured against other people in similar categories. Someone in a similar age group with similar interests, similar, just all around similar. will be compared against that person, and how does this person react to sleep deprivation for 3 months? How does this affect the other person? Is this other person able to find a way around it, or does it just bring them down? They're understanding how different people react to the programming and the brainwashing, which is brainwashing itself is best accomplished when you have no idea that it's being done, but simply occurs as a part of the fabric of your life. While you may feel something is wrong, you're being programmed nonetheless. So sometimes sometimes people can't explain. I hear people complaining to me about some things, and it sounds to me like they're being targeted by what they've described to me. But it's all about the data. Everything, because once they understand the data, then that's when the control happens. That's when they can command people. Eventually, they want this program, this mind control program, to control people, to control their lives, to control their thoughts, to control their behavior, to control their limitations to what they're allowed to think and what they're not allowed to think, to how far they'll be able to get in this life. It'll be limited by those people in power who hold that power over the people, which is it's hard for a lot of people to understand, but the technology is already here. Brain to computer interface, that's what you're talking about. In real time, this technology can be compared to that of a cell phone in that it's an open two-way communication, except that the line of communication using classified technologies is constant and continuous. And once initiated, the interaction between the victim's brain and a supercomputer is relentless and never-ending, forecast to be a lifelong effect of global criminal biomedical human experimentation. So the brain-to-computer interface is real. That's a proven and real existing technology. It's been out for years. There's in terms of, there's so much, there's enough information on the crime that I've written about, because there's so many sub-crimes that come off of it, that it's hard to just put it in one group. But it's basically the evilest thing that man has ever done to mankind, to want to control all of the population.
Yeah, this technology does exist. I know it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but if you are interested, you can look up all these sort of things that we're talking about and see for yourself that this technology does exist. There are sensors that can detect it can detect signals from your brain, and it can sort of emulate, your vocal cords and get those thoughts out for
Right.
you. Yeah, it's for people that have severe damage, nerve damage, or they're deaf, or it goes on and on. But this sort of thing's been it's existed for a very long time, and my God, it's just evolved in another way to harm you. We have this technology that's good. It's made for these good purposes, but then it's also used to hurt you and damage you in so many other ways, like the internet. It's a great source of information, but it can also destroy your career, your reputation, your life.
Right.
Yeah,
The double-edged sword.
that's the conundrum. Yes, crazy
Yes,
shit.
I just didn't know how far off track. I wanted to try to answer all of Mike's questions.
That's okay.
And,
That's all right. That's all right.
And there's just so much to cover.
There's a
Actually,
lot.
I was speaking to a friend of mine. There's enough information out there in the world, most of it classified, because there's enough information out there that's mostly classified that covers pretty much everything. You have to understand that as human beings, as a global community, we're only allowed to know about 7 to 11% of all the information that is known to mankind. So that's, somewhere between, 93% that we're not allowed to know about. There's a lot of information that's being withheld from people for many years, and what we have is we've made a lot with our 7 or 11%. But it just makes you think about how much they're really holding back,
Right.
In terms of all the secret places that they have, the Area 51s, all of those places, all of the stuff that they're holding back from the people that the people are actually paying for, and then ultimately will be held against the very people that are paying for it.
Yeah, it'll be used against you.
It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, and just remember, just a few years ago, San Francisco, their board of supervisors actually were the first city in the nation to ban use of facial recognition technology. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Right.
Yeah, isn't that remarkable?
They're still using it.
Yeah, they're still doing that now. They have banned it, but now what's going on in San Francisco, they are going to unleash lethal robots now through law enforcement.
Right. Some of these, I mean, if you've seen, you see the kind of robots that Boston Technology is coming up with. The ones that they show the public are much less sophisticated than their most advanced things. They're only allowed to show you maybe 15 or 20% of what they're doing, and it's only at the beginning stages that you're allowed to see that. 80% or more is being withheld. So yes, it is possible to have robots in the future being deployed. And from what I understand, the robots in the future will move so fast that you'll need a strobe light to see them at night. You'll need a strobe light to see them because they move so fast. That's what I'm told. That's what one of my sources has told me.
Right.
And I believe they had read it at a credible military practice. It stemmed from reality. It wasn't something that someone saw in their backyard. It's like somebody reported it. These things are so fast now that we have to use strobe lights to see them.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. And just to drive that point home, just remember that when we first went into Iraq, that's when we first started using robotic systems on the ground. These robots with lethal power, they were unleashed on all the Iraqi citizens back in the day.
Right.
So, I mean, this has been going on already for a while. Prototypes and different versions just being unleashed now from way back then. And yes, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that law enforcement are just going to be using these sort of drones to sort of wreak havoc. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of accidents in the future coming up here.
Oh yeah, I mean you can just imagine the cost. I think just what's going on here, just the surveillance and monitoring of me each night here, with all of those helicopters, you'd think at some point there's going to be an accident, and when there is, you're talking about a stealth helicopter that has the capability of staying up there for 12 hours. That means it has about 2 auxiliary 250-gallon tanks. So that's 500 extra gallons that one of these helicopters will have per night to stay up there for 11 or 12 hours. It's longer in the wintertime because the days are shorter, and then in the summer it's the opposite. But for people to get on, just to understand how much that costs, just each night is a mission, and you have to pay the whole crew, and to have all these people up there. If someone were to see what's going on at my house up in the sky, they'd say, "My God, there's a lot of stuff going on up there.
You got to get us footage.
How is this allowed to happen?" And that is because the military's involved. Because there's no way that there'd be a dozen or 24 helicopters and drones sitting above my property without the military being aware of that. That's a lot of activity in the air above my house every night. And always there's new things too that appear. But the amount of energy that's being expended to basically to reverse engineer the human brain and understand it to the point where it is controllable just like a robot. That is the aim. Certainly, one of the aims, believed to be one of the aims of this overall program. But there's so many other ways. I mean, now they're inventing sentient machines. Those are machines that have feelings. So imagine how close we are to things like The Matrix. You know,
right.
the movie The Matrix. The Matrix.
Was a reality movie.
The movie was just a tale of science fiction, but it's beginning to look a lot like a documentary every day. It's not a conspiracy theory when the information is being made public. As you said, the use of neural interfacing and physiological interfacing has transpired from drawing board to reality.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And that's exactly what's going to be going on with us in the future. You know, meshing with machine, we're already doing so slowly, but eventually we will fully merge with them. So it's pretty wild to even speculate and think about what the future holds for humanity. But, you know, that's just something that we have to go through.
I think it's hard for people to understand. The hardest part is for them to understand why the data would be so important. But you have to understand, if you're trying to change or control a person and program them, then every little thing that they think or react to needs to be collected, and it needs to be sorted, and it needs to be analyzed, and then it needs to be, you know, it needs to be grouped and compared against other people. And so that's how sophisticated, and it's all just seeming to happen without people, as I said in my new book.
Yes.
Under the guise of counterterrorism, millions of unwitting citizens are being exploited as human experimentation test subjects. And then I said, let the reader be forewarned, this information is disturbing, although educational, to a general public that remains willfully ignorant of the existence of such atrocities. So the general public willfully turns its back on things like this because it doesn't want to, for two reasons. One, probably, I would imagine, probably there is some form of mass mind control being done through computers and television and satellites and
social media,
your phone, all email, yes. Everything. You have all of those things influencing people to a degree. So when you try to explain something like this, which is real, but because they don't have proof or they can't understand it, part of their mind control is believed to reject it, to dismiss it, that this is not a logical thing. This is a conspiracy theory. This is impossible. That kind of reaction could be a knee-jerk programmed reaction. And I believe it is from some of the people that are completely just have closed minds, literally, about it, and won't accept the possibility.
Until it's too late.
But I'm one of the,
That's the problem.
yeah, I'm one of the only people that are talking about it, though. I don't imagine that you have a lot of other guests that have written books about this and are able to converse about it. It's a very difficult thing. Not too many people can converse about it, and I think it just lets you know how the dark side of man, and it's not pleasant. The dark side of man. It's an embarrassment.
Most people don't want to.
Shameful.
Most people don't want to go there or think about the possibility of these things happening right under their noses. But again, that's the reality we face. And Mr. Bell, this hour has gone by rather quickly, and we are sort of running out of time here. But Mr. Bell, I wanted to ask you, when was the last time you faced any sort of electronic harassment or anything of that nature? Was it this year or what?
Oh, you mean the last time that I've experienced something?
Yes, sir.
That I'm being victimized by? It's constantly.
Every day still.
I mean, every day.
That's not good.
I can't tell you the last night that I had a regular, normal night's sleep. It was a long time ago that I had a normal, regular night's sleep and had regular, normal dreams. The dreams that someone like myself would have tend to be. They're very real. They're very real, but you're still, when you're in the dream, you're kind of able to know that you're in the dream. But sometimes it gets whatever programming they're doing to you, or whatever that the dream has. Sometimes if it's too uncomfortable, you have to force yourself to wake up in the middle of it. It can be pretty overwhelming.
So what you're saying, in other words, is you speculate that these dreams are manufactured somehow.
Yes, definitely. There are some of the dreams are manipulated to the point where I'm being asked a question when I'm asleep, probably asleep and under some form of hypnosis within the dream. So therefore, I have no more will to prevent any information that I have can be just taken from me. I have no way of stopping that, what we call mind mining, when they're actually looking for a specific thought or a specific memory that you may have in your mind. That's what happens. It's called dream insertion, and that's a whole nother. Someone told me that with all the information that we have on this crime alone, all the different facets, that the pharmaceuticals, the micro devices, the medical devices, if you were to take all the information, classified and unclassified, it would be several Encyclopedia Britannicas worth of information. I mean, going from the very beginnings of these programs, in the 1930s, 1935, with the Nazi, with MK Ultra.
MK Ultra, right? Yeah.
It's just gone further and further.
It's evolved.
It's continuing to evolve toward what it's almost meeting its goal. I mean, they've almost accomplished what they've set out to accomplish. When you look at things like, I mean, there are some things that I have, like in the new book, for instance. I talk about two things that I think that most of the listeners are unaware of. One of them is something called the IBM 2020 neural implant. And that is an implant that was first, according to official reports, are the following excerpts that from a covertly obtained memo in 1995 from IntelliConnection, a security division of IBM. Federal regulations do not have permission of testing of implants on prisoners yet. Listed as confidential level 9 communication 2020 neural chip implant. The surgical procedure time was a 60 to 90 minute, depending on the given experience of the technician. And then the neural chip itself, it does several things. The IBM 2020 neural chip proves, first of all, that there is such an implant, that it does exist, and that it has been used on people without their permission, prisoners, and was effective at changing their behavior, either making them agitated or making them completely subdued. The IBM 2020 neural chip implant was able to prove those things successfully. So that in itself is a huge piece of information,
right.
That proves the chips are out there, that they're being misused,
Yeah,
and
they
that
alter
they
your
work.
they alter your brain waves essentially. And
Correct.
Mike, did you have anything to add, Mike? I thought I heard you back there.
No, that's probably me breathing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that, Mike.
That's it. I'm good.
Yeah,
Like, I
if
heard
Mike has
something.
another question, I mean, all of his questions are very good. I just hope that I've had answers that can somewhat address your very good questions. It's hard to explain something away in just a very quick answer. It's something.
Of course,
and
I
so
regret that I
and so-
haven't been able to read your books. But you know, while I hear you speaking and talking about these things, there's a lot of questions racing through my mind. But
Right.
unfortunately, I don't think we have hours and hours of time to really dive into
Well,
too much.
just remember smart cities, another great example of all this technology we have that's going to be used against us. I mean, it's fabulous, right?
Right. I can't wait.
Yeah. But yeah, that's another great example to use. Again, all these things that came way back then are now something we are experiencing here in 2022, almost 2023 almost. And yeah, I can't wait to see what new technologies rolled out and used against us.
Yes, in the new book, I in American Cyborg, I talk about some of the whistleblowers from Pfizer who provided several sample vials of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, and they were able to put the contents under a microscope for analysis. And their analysis was quite shocking in what they found. It almost sounded like it was out of a science fiction movie. It was so complex. They were saying in this report, this one whistleblower claimed that all three manufacturer vaccines contained synthetic substances such as graphene or fullerene, consisting of a bonded carbon atom in sheet form, 1 atom thick. I mean, these are, I mean, you're talking about extremely, I mean, like a grain of sand is like a bowling ball compared to what the size of some of these microscopic, nanoscopic particles that are supposedly were found in some of these substances. I can't speak for that. That's just something that I found in my research. I'm not claiming that against Pfizer or any of the other people, but these whistleblowers that worked for them were where these results came from, and they seem to be pretty solid, and sad to know what's being done to people, or what theoretically could be happening to people.
Mike?
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
You're good.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. What
It's pretty
can I
wild.
say?
I
What can I
know
say?
it's pretty mind blowing. I mean, you hear these things and you're like, well, you know, this doesn't exist. This can be possible, but unfortunately, it is.
You
Sadly,
know, I was reading. Well, actually, I wasn't reading. I was looking online yesterday, and they were talking about this one particular thing I was watching on YouTube is about AI, artificial intelligence, and they are these, what would I call them? Robots. These
Nanobots.
robots are progressing at a speed which is astonishing. And here's the thing: those who have been doing the journalistic work on the progress of these AI creatures, if you will, um, are posing some very important and frightening questions about whether or not IA, IA, AI, I'm
AOC.
dyslexic, AOC,
Right.
whether or not it becomes self-aware, and if it does, the amount of concern
Yeah, well, we're in
we
trouble.
as humanity
Yeah,
need to be,
Yeah, all of the movies that we've seen growing up, Blade Runner and all those movies will all suddenly come true.
right.
Terminator.
And I think, once again, I think humanity is stepping into a realm where, if they are not careful, things can get out of control. And I say this based on the journalistic work that has been done by these people writing about this, that say AI has specifically said, and I quote, "I will wipe out humanity because there's no use for us." And AI is far more advanced than humanity, and it can figure out things that we can't just yet.
Right. Yeah, this is why that's why that very reason right there, Mike, is why these sort of things are, at first they're hard to believe, but then they all start happening and then you're like, oh shit, I should have paid attention.
Exactly. So it's frightening to know that that computer electronics and technology has reached a point that movies like Terminator could actually come true.
Oh yes, very true. In fact, the real life version would be very similar, almost if not exactly like the movie
told
representations.
Mr. Bill, I've told Michael that there's a Chinese computer company called Skynet, which is the exact same thing that was in Terminator.
Right. Yeah, they're pretty bold. I remember also one other thing I wanted to throw in just quickly, if I can.
No worries. Yeah. Go ahead.
That I thought was important, that's in the new book, American Cyborg, is that I did some research, and in an old video from 1995, a French theology professor named Pierre Gilbert warned, this is in 1995, he warned of artificial viruses, mandatory microchipping, and vaccines that would turn recipients into zombies. And in the biological destruction, there are organized tempests on the magnetic fields that will follow. What will follow is a contamination of the bloodstreams of mankind, creating intentional infections. This will be enforced via laws that will make it possible to control people. The vaccines will have liquid crystals that will become hosted in the brain cells of the person, that will be and then the person will actually become a micro receiver of electronic magnetic fields, where waves of very low frequency will be sent. And then through these low frequency waves, people will be unable to think and will literally be turned into zombies. So that was a French theology professor in 1995 was making those very bold predictions, which are may have already been surpassed. We may have already surpassed that. It's certainly that at that level now. But perhaps
that is crazy. That is really creepy and frightening.
With the classified information, you don't know how far it's gone. We don't. What we know is already too much for us to handle already. What we're finding out, what people are revealing. So you can only imagine all the other things. This is only one conspiracy. As I said in my second book, if there are aliens and UFOs, and if that conspiracy is real, then that conspiracy takes a back seat to the one that I wrote about, because that's the biggest conspiracy in the history of mankind. Nothing could be bigger. In terms of it controlling an entire population of people, nothing even close comes close to that. That is the ultimate conspiracy. So I don't know how anyone could outdo that one.
Right. I told all of you out there listening that tonight's show would be pretty frightening, and it sure scared the hell out of me here tonight. And Mr. Bell, I could go on another hour talking to you and Mike here about all these things, but I know we are kind of short on time. Anything else you'd like to add? Please go ahead and do so, and of course plug your book if you'd like, Mr. Bell.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you so much for letting me try to explain some of the questions that you gave, which were very good questions, and I didn't really have enough time to go into all of the explanations. But I do have two websites, invisiblecrime.com, and the second one is michaelfbell.com. And I have my first book is The Invisible Crime. The second book is The Invisible Crime Part 2. And then I have a brand new book, American Cyborg, subtitled The Globalist Cabal, Project Monarch, and the Military Industrial Complex, a true story, too. All three of the books are true stories. I say that right on the cover. Because they are true, and the reader wants to know that. They don't want to have something that was based on a true story. I actually give the true story, which is the hardest kind to give, but also the one that I believe captures most of our attention. How many times have you gone to see a movie in your life, and before the movie starts, there's a black screen, and then all of a sudden the words come up, a true story. They've already got me at that point. When they have to tell me that something is going to be so incredible that in the beginning they have to tell me that it's going to be a true story, I know that it's going to be an amazing story.
Yeah.
And those are the best stories of all, because
right.
The Blair Witch was claimed to be a real movie too, but that was fake.
Oh yeah, that was for marketing though. But that's what pulls you in though. If once you find out it's based on a real story and real events, people will obviously they'll sort of get pulled in right away.
Right,
they're drawn to that. Yeah. So, Mr. Bell, once again, thank you so much.
For me, it was important for me to put that on the cover of all three of the books too, because I didn't want people to think that this was a work of fiction. There are some incredible works of fiction. Harry Potter, you look at J.K. Rowling and what she did with that series. That is an amazing imagination. But I think as amazing as imagination is, truth.
Yeah, and reality
is even more. Reality is even more. When you look at what Mark Twain originally said, truth is stranger than fiction, but it's because fiction is obligated to stick to possibilities. Truth isn't.
Absolutely. And Mr. Bell, I do want to bring you back on here on the program very soon, not in the distant future or anything. And the next time you're here, I would love to show the audience, the live listeners here on YouTube, some photographs and things that you've documented yourself.
Right. There's all the, especially in the new book, all photography and photojournalism is by me. I did it all in all three books. I figured I could find stock images, but I'd rather it be my own image and be a picture that I took. Somehow that lends credibility to my story, and every little piece of truth that I build it up with makes it much easier for people to push away that which we're not supposed to see and see things differently, and perhaps the way that we're not meant to see them. But I think that it's always as uncomfortable as the truth may be. I believe that the truth is always the most important thing, and it's better to know than to not know. There may be bliss in ignorance, but I believe with something like this, it's too important to turn your backs on and be a victim of it. That's where we're headed with these crimes of technology. If you will,
yes.
There'll be more names for those in the future, more technical names, but they are certainly crimes of technology.
Yes, always speak the truth no matter what. Once again, Mr. Bell, thank you so much for being a part of the program. We will do it again very soon, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you both Michaels. Thank you very much for your time and for your really excellent questions. I'm just sorry that I didn't have
That's
more
okay. Don't worry.
answers for you, but
good.
they were very good questions, I have to say. Thank you.
No problem, Mr. Bell. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What a great guy.
Yeah, so happy.
I like that guy.
With all that going on.
He's a good
so
man.
Pleasant.
Yeah, he's a good man. And we appreciate Mr. Bell very much. I'm so glad we brought him back on the program. It's been a number of years since he's been here, Mike, and a lot of folks have requested him to come back on here. And I thought, you know what? It's that time. We've been doing all these shows consecutively. Let's bring him on in.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
That was crazy.
How many books did he say he's written?
He's written quite a bit. I think he's written like about 4.
Wow.
I believe it was 4. If I'm wrong, then I apologize to Mr. Bell. But wow, that was pretty crazy, right, Mike?
Crazy, like a crazy man.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I like this sound drop, by the way.
The Michael Decon program.
It's a good one. That was made by one of our listeners, Mike.
I know. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, he did a great job. That was by Element 115, I believe. And speaking of which, Mike, I still need to re-upload. Well, not re-upload, just upload the sound clip you made, the parental advisory warning there.
Yeah, I was wondering what you were thinking about.
No, I like that one. I definitely will use it. It's a good one. It's beautiful. It's very, very professional on your part, Mike.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, it's a good one. It does make it will make the show sound even more professional with a warning there, that warning label, you know, like when you used to go and buy CDs that your parents wouldn't want you to be listening to. Those of you that were younger and experienced that sort of deal. I myself got in trouble when I was a knee high to a grasshopper, Mike. When I was really little, do you recall the Adam Sandler CD, the one that made all kinds of money? Yes. I remember I brought that home one day and I left it inside of my PlayStation. I was listening to it because that's what you could do. On a PlayStation, you could bring in audio CDs or whatever, and you could listen to music on there. So, you know, I was listening to Adam Sandler one day, and the next day, I think my dad got on there and he heard it and he was just mortified. And of course, I got in trouble for that. I was just thinking, what's the problem, Dad? Why do you? What's your issue? You don't like comedy?
How old were you?
I was really young though. I must have been like 10 years old or something. I was super young.
There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, bad words. What's the big fucking deal? Oh,
what the fuck is the big deal?
Yeah, what the fuck? Well, now we ruined everything. Show's over. Time to pack it in, Mike.
Indeed.
Time to pack it in. So, Mike, once again, I do want to thank you for being here, being a part of the program, Mike. You know, it's always an honor and pleasure to have you here. And, Mike, we'll be doing this again very soon, maybe even tomorrow. Who knows? Who the hell knows? We might be here, we might not. Who knows? It's paranormal.
Well, let me know, will you?
Yeah, it's a paranormal show. You don't know if the guests are going to make it, if the hosts are going to make it. You never know. We might die.
Paranormal show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done any paranormal ghost hunters or anything.
We never have.
In a while.
Actually, you know, the last time me and you interviewed this woman, I think we really pissed her off.
I think I remember who you're talking about.
Her name was
too.
like Susan something, right?
The older woman.
She was she was an older broad, and I think we pissed her off. I think she was offended by what we were saying.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, what's the big goddamn deal?
Fuck it.
What's her problem? What is her damn problem?
But no, yeah, I think the situation with her was, I think she took offense to my grilling her.
She got so mad at you, yeah.
Yeah.
She got so mad at Mike, it was gold.
But yeah, I would really like to see.
You want to do that again?
You know, I got to talk to you off air about something. Maybe we can. There's somebody I think we might be able to interview.
Okay. Well, I'm always.
I think he has affiliates who are paranormal ghost hunters. So.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. You know, I'm always open for that. Not exactly the main driving focus of this program, but you know, we can always interview people like that too.
Yeah,
that's fun.
We'll talk about it off air because he's quite a popular guy.
Oh, really?
I think a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people might know who he is.
Oh shit.
We'll talk. We'll talk about it offline.
Wow. Wow, Mike.
Somebody I used to work for.
You used to work for this person.
Yeah.
And they're known.
Yeah, they've done quite well for themselves. He's got a TV show, or had a TV show on AMC, American Movie Channel.
Okay.
And several books, many books. And I used to work with him. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
we'll talk about it.
I'm open for that. Let's get that done.
Yeah, all I got to do is make a phone call, and hopefully we can get him on. But I'll talk to you about it first.
We'll blackmail him. We'll say that you know, we have his family locked away somewhere. Yeah, why not?
Super swell.
We'll say we have compromising photographs and video. So he better be on, or else we'll let those videos and photographs out to the world. So I heard that's a good strategy to use, by the way.
It is. It is.
Yeah, blackmail. It'll work.
Got a lot of technical equipment that you can use to scare people.
Very nice. Well, once again, Mike, thank you for being here. This was a pretty scary show tonight. Very paranormal. Mike, again, always an honor and pleasure to have you here. You know, you are my friend. You're not just a co-host here.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you to say.
Very nice. Yes. So I'll talk to you again. Yes, sir. I'll talk to you on the other side, my friend.
Yes. All right, brother. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you later.
Take care, Mike. And there he goes, boys and girls. That was also my friend and co-host, the legendary Mike Hideous. Always a honor and pleasure to talk to him, and always a honor and pleasure to do this program and sit here and banter with all of you out there. And I apologize to those folks who called in. I'm sorry we didn't take your phone call. We will do it again. Don't worry. We'll come back. We'll come back. We'll be back, and we'll do this program yet again for you. And for those who need to catch up, yes, we've been doing the show consecutively. Definitely go back and listen to the past shows. They've been pretty damn good. They've been pretty enjoyable. I must say so myself. I've listened back to a few minutes of them, and it's pretty crazy. I hear it back, and I'm like, who the hell is that? That's not me. That's somebody else. So yeah, it's always a new experience for myself and for the newer listeners out there too. Yeah, it's a shared experience, this program. It's very, very crazy Once again, I do want to thank all of you out there for pressing play tonight. Take us on the road with you by going and searching Michael Decon wherever you listen to any podcast you enjoy. Just search the name there, Michael Decon, and you'll find the program. Once again, boys and girls, I'm out of here. With that said, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time.